then it hit me. It hit me. It hit me. What do I mean? When you're the first pioneering something, clarity I be getting. Can't really be dependent on handouts at all. Greetings to all. I could say, let me take a walk with this. Wow, this, that way. Yeah, I know y'all hear me be talking about pioneering or being the first to do something. A lot of that ish don't come with handouts simply because it reveals people's wounded ego. It reveals their, let me take these headphones off. I'll turn them off at least. But it reveals their wounded ego, or more so, reveals their competitive nature, which is probably rooted in ego regardless. Keep going anyway. That's my message to you all. Just sometimes I even feel like think I gotta overwork, or I don't even like the word work, or be an overhaul, let's say, for no point of reason. And the reason I say this is because that was a program, and we so used to think like we gotta go, put so much in. And every time I had to remind myself to sit back and relax, enjoy the fruits of your labor. Don't feel like you have to rush the process. Because I had to be reminded, shout out to the peace deal on it. You mentioned something. What is that? That's cool. Mentioned something, about when you're building something brick by brick, whatever you are doing, building something brick by brick, you don't have to question yourself, especially if you're doing it with integrity. I had to remind myself, I had to worry about cutting corners. So when I speak about my experiences, my transitions through things, that's expressing to y'all when I don't have to, but I do it because I love it, is that success isn't measured by what society says. I'm successfully at peace because I'm choosing to do things with integrity, with honesty, so that shit don't have to haunt me in a way. And brick by brick was one of the things he had mentioned in there. I was like, yo, I needed to hear that, because it can look very unsuccessful, as some may perceive it, or can look like someone doesn't have it all together just because they're going through something, they're maneuvering through something, and people don't see the brick by brick that you're day to day trying to build what you're building. I like this. That's gonna be a picture. But brick, I like this color. But anywho, brick by brick. So I had to be reminded of that, bro. Like, reminding myself daily, every moment when I choose to, whether it's create content, rest, honor my truth, no matter how much people feel like I should be doing certain things. I had to be reminded that, like, when you're the first to do something as well, it's like also, I also realized like how I'm being the first to create a whole tradition, like my own I keep almost want to say transition, but my own tradition. What do I mean by that? It's like when I'm choosing to walk this path and go against the social norms, go against what the world, what family that you came from, the mother that you came through, the father that helped support co-creating you. Listen, as you choosing to do things completely different, you are also choosing to create your own belief system. And in creating that, you're creating your tradition in life. So I don't even think a lot of y'all realize like how big this shit is that we're doing. I had to realize in self-reflecting, I'm like, yo, every time I'm choosing to stand for myself, speak my truth, I'm not only shattering the illusions of others who have this perception of me, but I'm also realizing I'm creating a whole different narrative, doing things authentically, creating my whole tradition in my own way, or returning, when I say like connecting with, giving honor to the ancestors and so forth, it's like recreating in my own way, but also reconnecting to things that also paved the way. Also, which felt like it was laying dormant at a point of time in my life. So let me just say, like, yo, that statement alone by the Peace Dealer saying brick by brick, it can be very challenging, as I've said before, bruh, when no one seems to get it but you and your connection to God, source, whatever. And there's very few who will before it's a little too late. And more so, that's why I be talking my shit. This is why I've had to experience things with people where I realized I had to stand 10 toes down regardless, whether who was there or not, whether home or not, money or not, shelter or not, food or not, and stay consistent no matter what. So, that's a lot where people can't really say that they can, and that to each their own. But when you know that you know, even when no one believes it, you gotta stand on that. You gotta stand on it. You gotta stand on that block, even when people are trying to trick you out your position. You have to stand on it. I know it's easier said than done, but only very few can relate. So, man, brick by brick. And it's gonna come upon a time where the fruits of your labor are already showing. Because there can be so much doubt, there can be so much criticism, there can be so many things that people just be like, oh, well, they're in that situation just because, or they don't believe you can get out of it. But that brick by brick, let me tell you, I know I can talk my shit. I know. Because you can't buy integrity. Let me say that again. You cannot buy integrity. You can't buy authenticity. And that's what y'all don't realize. Y'all been in the world of people who been portraying, trying to cut corners to look a certain way, to portray that they're rich, to act like they have it all, and so forth, to please people who don't give a shit about them. I just want to know that How do we think that that's not some type of mental illness in trying to convince people in the world that they live better than someone? I say, not only did they live better, but to convincing them to live a certain way, to feel a sense of fulfillment, love, or truth. I'm gonna give you this such and such for $5.99 so that you can be rich. This scheme, this manipulation, I'm gonna give you this so you can, you and you and you and. How do we don't question these things? Why would you want your children to even feel like they have to cut corners, to skip the line, to almost like feel like waiting or being patient isn't something that should be valued? I honestly used to believe someone else's belief system growing up, not realizing until I became more aware how envious and jealous they were of other people. So they wanted to give off this illusion that if they had this, if they had that, then they were much more better or much more, you know, how can I say, what's the word I'm looking for? That they were much more valuable. And this is what you giving your kids to believe, to accept? Rather than to teach children or for us to see the value in being honest and with integrity. A world full of people who are trying to influence people to not be themselves, to literally create content for likes and views, for greed, for self-righteousness, anything but integrity and empowerment. So, like I said, I grew up around it. I've seen it a lot. I see it, you know, sometimes during the day. Then I started to recognize how much my own confidence, my own presence somewhere outside of how I look just irritates the fuck out of people. You know, from experience, some let's say, what I mean by like the intimidation people feel is that, let me give you an example. To even be confident as a man that's darker in a country who has, for the last 100 years or whatever, or, you know, the world that they literally pride themselves to have tried to devalue or try to debunk or dismiss or almost remove the existence of someone who is darker, emasculate in every way. So that in itself, as a man, for me to just walk upright, speak confidently, or not even say nothing at all in certain environments, it ain't for the faint of heart, man. I'm honored. And that's the thing when I say not skipping corners or cutting corners or feeling like I shouldn't have walked through the same spaces or went through the places and so forth, even when I only had 2 or 3 outfits. Y'all don't get it, bro. The shit is so, I talk my shit because just being in a position where I literally I only had like a few outfits, but I had the opportunity to wash my clothes. But it's still, you have the world or people will look at you and be like, literally how people will perceive like, oh, wow, he don't got no more clothes, he don't have this, he don't have that. And not knowing, like, does that determine my value? And any artist or anyone who really knows to where when you're in a situation where you have to go through things, even when, you know, are you going to still have integrity even when the world is still going to judge you just simply because of what they focus on more externally than seeing your value internally? So when I be saying I'm going to stand 10 toes down, that means with or without people, clothing, certain things that to me comes and goes. And especially when the world has never seen in a while, or in this generation of men or people that could just be authentic and honest and not looking for a handout, not looking for approval of others. That in itself is a threat to the media, mainstream society, the community, basically the world in itself, depending on who you are. That in itself is a threat. Like that outfit, bro. So, yeah. So wherever you are, remember that. Like I said, I can talk. It ain't even just talking. I can walk it, and I know when you hear walk it like you talk it, or just talking, walk the talk and talk the walk, that's what integrity is. That means no one can come along and try to tell me what I need to feel guilty upon my journey if I know that I've been honest with me first. If I know that I had to learn to hold space for those versions of me when I didn't know how to. And then in that accepting those versions of myself, I can move forward confidently. So when someone, not that it matters now because I don't give a fuck, bring up something from the past or someone reappear from the past or whatever, I've already accepted that part. And in that acceptance, I can confidently walk away or accept the offer or opportunity. And that's the beauty of walking a path where you don't have to lay down at night questioning who you are. So are we influencing, or what type of influence do you have are you encouraging those kids to play small or dim their light just because a celebrity, just because a teacher, just because an authoritative figure comes around or so forth? Are you teaching that child to dim their light, to not be honest, to not speak up? And in that, are you, make sure this car go by. Are you being a bridge to the youth or people with how you're going about things? And that's the beauty of like walking this path where it can seem for me at times where I was brought into space where I was speaking about earlier, like how at a time I didn't even realize like my presence in itself, or just me not knowing my value, how much it impacted and had a ripple effect on everyone around me, not just myself, but everyone around me. But now I see how much even more of a amazing like impact it has as I actually walk in this shit even better and even more confidently. And so, and not fear, no consequences, or not fear the fact of, why should I fear being me? And so earlier, like I said, I've been put in spaces and places where I authentically approach people with, you know, let's say it's an opportunity presenting itself and there are authoritative figures or certain people there. And man, I wish I knew this Sister Paige. She was speaking about things like this where when I be telling y'all about spiritual currency, like it's in you, not on you. And the sister we're talking about, matter of fact, if you go look at my community center, I'll share the video about how people who pioneer, I think what is it? People who pioneer need to nurture their vision or something like that, with just being a visionary, or even someone who who just try to confidently be themselves, and how you can't look for handouts, or even when you're in position to certain things, how people will, I use the word breadcrumb. I know she mentioned like looking for handouts, but basically you will walk and go through spaces where people will give you the short end of the stick, or it'll be like a delayed response, or because they cannot handle your light, or realize like you're here to do something, so they're gonna do some things in a way to prevent you from progressing. And the truth is, what is that saying goes, delayed, I believe I'm making this up, but I know it's like, basically delayed doesn't mean denied. I think that's how it goes, or even rejection doesn't mean denied. But she was also speaking about that, like even with rejection, you hear people say rejection is for protection, but also rejection is for redirection, recreating another way, but also being authentic, to where you realize you had to see that, you had to go through that, because that person had the opportunity to walk in integrity. And a lot of people aren't willing to allow their egos, their wounded egos, to be exposed, but they do it anyway. But other than that, certain situations that I've been in, I realized I was put in places just to still be me. No matter who was going to accept it, who was going to like it or not, I was still asked to be me. No matter how much money I had, no matter what car, no matter whatever it was. That's what life is truly, when you're talking about planting seeds, sowing seeds, and reaping what you sow. That interaction with people gives you an opportunity to, sow seeds of integrity. And they have an opportunity to do the same. And if not, what do you think they're going to reap from that? It'll be the opposite of integrity or authenticity. So that's the thing that I've learned with how important it is to just walk upright in who you are, no matter what, and knowing your worth and value. And that's why we had to go through certain experiences. So that's just my spiel for today on my little walk. Y'all take care of yourself. Peace and blessings. Shalom.